Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be reviewing the Mario movie. Or not really reviewing, because I'm probably quite biased knowing my track record with Mario games. I am quite the fan, can't tell by the posters stuff. But yeah, I saw it earlier today and I thought it was pretty good. But to give you a full idea, I made a list of what I'm going to be reviewing. And to start off, we are going to be going for the voice acting. I know people were pretty skeptical about the voice acting when they announced who would be in the movie, but now watching it, I thought that the voice acting was quite good. Probably even better than other video game movies or video game media. Chris Pratt was a pretty hated choice at first, but I thought his voice acting was really good in the movie. I feel like the main reason for that was because they didn't try to make Chris Pratt Mario. They tried to mix them in a way where it was its own character. It wasn't just Chris Pratt voicing Mario, it was Chris Pratt Mario, if that makes sense. Like Heath Ledger Joker, or what's another one? That's all I got for that. But yeah, I thought the voice acting was really good. Bowser was what everyone expected. He was great. Honestly, I feel like all the scenes with Bowser were just Nintendo recording Jack Black living life. You know, because they feel like they were made for each other, honestly. It was quite impressive. I like how they executed it too. It reminded me of like the story when like the bully is actually like just a really sensitive person, kind of like that, like Nelson from The Simpsons. I thought that was a really cool direction too. It was quite kind of funny, and he was just a likable character. Toad was pretty good. I thought it was a weird choice. They didn't really do any. I don't know how to describe it. Toad was a quite interesting character. And Peach, I don't know. I feel like Peach never really had a defined voice throughout history. She was just woman. I have some more to say about her later though. And Tom Green, I think that's his name. He was pretty good as Luigi. I thought they did the voices for the Mario Brothers a lot better than people were expecting. I feel like taking them to a normal voice instead of the stereotypical Italian voice they always had throughout history by Charles Martinet was a good choice. Fun fact, I think the voice of Charles Martinet, he voices one of the characters in the movie too. A very minor side character, but still nonetheless a pretty neat reference. Yeah, I think the voices were pretty good though. Anyways, the next thing I wanted to cover was a story, which I thought was an interesting story take for a Mario movie. I thought it was very cool that they didn't try to tread over. I mean, they did do the Brooklyn dudes in Mushroom Kingdom story, but they did it very well. I feel they didn't stick themselves directly to it. They just used that as a canvas per se. So the beginning of the movie, I try not to spoil too much, but the beginning of the movie goes, they are plumbers. They're trying to fix the city's water, I guess, to say the least, and they go into a pipe, go to Mushroom Kingdom, do stuff, you know. Very well-known story for Mario, but not a very well-depicted story, I feel. Which was a good depiction. They did a good depiction of it. I feel, because it never really had much more than probably a book manual written about it, and then a TV show. But the TV show was more sitcom-y, not sitcom-y, but like more generalized. It wasn't really a in-depth depiction. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty good way of doing it. They very well presented why Mario did what he does in the movie. Because when I was thinking about it, I was like, huh, it's kind of weird that he doesn't really question being in the Mushroom Kingdom, and he just chooses to save these people that he doesn't really know, and hasn't really, and like, could have never predicted existed, you know? But I feel like the way they depicted the relationship between Mario and Luigi made it really understandable for why he wouldn't question it too much, because he is driven by his desire to save Luigi too much to really process and question the environment they are in. I thought was a very common trope, but not a bad execution of the trope. I thought Princess Peach's story was a little weird, and I thought they didn't really execute the coexistence of Brooklyn and the Mushroom Kingdom simultaneously. They didn't really depict that in a way that felt very, I don't know, realistic, or not realistic, but like it was very odd and unusual how people were just, at the end of the movie, they were just fine with knowing these people live in these pipes and stuff. But another thing about the story, I think the world of the story was very well too, like very well depicted. Besides the fact that people can just at any time go to and from the Mushroom Kingdom by just entering a pipe on accident. I mean, how else do you really get them to the location without like making it easy to access, I guess? Because they aren't really trying to find it, they're just stumbling across it. I feel like the Mushroom Kingdom world was very fun to learn about in this movie specifically. In the movie, in general, it's a great game and a great world, but in the movie specifically, I feel like the Mushroom Kingdom was a very interesting place. I thought the Donkey Kong stuff was a little odd, but I do like how they implemented the enemies of the games as actual just creatures in this world, you know? You see dudes walking around and it looks natural, even though in the games it's a very linear platformer, usually when you're playing the 2D games, but they implemented the 2D enemies in a 3D world that has no gameplay very well. Like, when you see the dudes with the 2 legs and they're like, you know, you don't really look at it and be like, why is this happening? You're just kind of like, oh, those animals are there, you know? They feel like they naturally live in that world. And the Mushroom Kingdom was pretty cool. The actual kingdom, the town, I guess, Toad Town, whatever. I don't think Paper Mario's canon in this movie. But Toad Town was pretty neat to look at, you know? It felt too whimsical at times when you're just in the town place. Like, I thought it was interesting how they had the ATMs be blocks, but when you see a floating platform, you're like, that doesn't seem practical for traversing land. But it looks like they put it there intentionally. But it doesn't look practical in use. I mean, who's over analyzing the Mushroom Kingdom? The characters, I guess in story, I'll include characters. I feel like Donkey Kong, he doesn't feel like the Donkey Kong from the games, but he still feels like an enjoyable character in my opinion. I thought they executed the tough guy with inner struggle trope really well. Because he's like, he's presenting himself as a guy that never loses, a guy that's everyone loves, you know? But then at times you'll see him and his shell crack when he's like talking to Mario and is like, I am more than strong ape. And I thought that Like with the build up and the knowing the character at that point, it was very. It was nice to see. It was very heartwarming. Not heartwarming, but it was very human, I guess, to see Donkey Kong having a soul, I guess. Cranky Kong was a weird inclusion, though, but you know, I mean, they weren't really trying to follow the Donkey Kong Country lore besides the characters, I guess. Because Cranky Kong was kind of like, and Donkey Kong is kind of, and like the games, it's just a family of apes on a country fighting crocodiles and tiki heads. But in the movie, it's like a whole clan, which I thought was a little weird, but I understand why they did it, because the reason they interacted with the Mario and Mushroom Kingdom people was because they were another kingdom that had strong artillery, I guess. But, yeah. I thought Mario's family, were done pretty well, with the fact that, like, he kind of feels like he's being patronized by a lot of people whenever they're telling him his stuff is, he has a good company, you know, and that he's going places, because other people in his life directly contradict that by telling him that he's a loser. He's wasting his life and stuff. So next we'll hop to visuals. Visuals were okay. I thought they were alright. That's the lie. I thought the movie looked really good. It's just the issue of Illumination as a company has a track record for very generic visuals, or very plasticky looking visuals, very cheap. So I think Nintendo making the choice of using Illumination was a good choice, because of the fact that they're using the cheapness as an advantage to get a style similar to their games. Like Super Mario World, for example, Super Mario 3D World was a very slick, clean look, and it fit really well with Illumination's look, even though they both were probably made to save money. Alright. Yeah, because I'm not a big fan of Illuminations, but to make it clear, I thought that the Mario movie, visual-wise, was still a very good looking movie. Yeah, with the... Now I want to bring up the fact that the characters looked... Specifically the humans, I thought they looked very nice, very stylized. I enjoyed it. For example, it reminds me of Luca, and how Luca has a very cartoony look, I guess. Like, the characters have very exaggerated features that make them look like they're drawings coming to life, and I thought the Mario movie kind of tried to go for something similar to that. Very exaggerated features, like the Mario characters are already exaggerated enough, with Luigi being like a tall, droopy, lanky, skinny guy. I thought they translated that very well into the movie. What I'm trying to say is their character traits translate well into their characters' visuals to emphasize their character traits, I guess. I thought Princess Peach's look was a bit odd, though. I wasn't the greatest fan of it, but I feel like there was very few choices otherwise to really get the character she is. Her character reflects her personality very well, but I'm still not a big fan, but I wouldn't say I'm opposed to it either. Anyways, next we have, actually, I want to discuss Princess Peach a bit more too as a character in the movie. I feel like they did a very, very good job with her in the movie, even though I was just complaining about her look. I feel like what she serves in the movie is a very good evolution of her character from the games. Because beforehand, she was a very just silhouette, like, damsel in distress. And in this movie, they're taking a more character-driven point, I guess. Like, they're progressing her into a more independent kind of character. She doesn't rely as much on the people around her, I guess, to save her, which I thought was the way they executed it was very good, because I like how they made her so she was more independent without making her feel narcissistic and still show vulnerability in the character. Which like, for example, Rey doesn't do that as well in Star Wars, because while being a strong character, she feels very narcissistic and like very single-minded, I guess. While Princess Peach, she has her strong moments, showing like her kind of more like she can do stuff, basically, showing she can do stuff without people helping her, while also keeping the moments where she reveals to Mario like she has stuff she's not very certain of, like her origins and like how she wants to like have more in life, I guess, or understand herself more in life, I guess, and trying to show her weakness, which I feel like was a good balance for the character compared to her previous depictions just being pretty princess, I guess. That sounds very childish of me to say, but I liked her before, but I feel like this take on her was a very good one. Anyways, next up we have fan service. And when I say fan service, I mean like funny references that us Nintendo fans can look at and be like, Duck Hunt. You know, I thought the fan service was really well executed, because it had a good mixture of Mario references and Nintendo references. For example, you'll see like people say stuff referencing older games like The Princess in Another Castle, or like just doing something from a previous Mario game that doesn't make sense within the world, but you can still look at and see where it's originating from. I feel like it has a good mixture of those and actual Nintendo references, like how they have pictures of the Punch-Out boxers and Duck Hunt characters in one of the cafes. Or how Mario plays his NES when he's sad and walks away from his dad. It's like, it doesn't make sense within the world as much, but it still makes sense within enjoyment, I guess. You can enjoy it nonetheless. I thought that was a really well executed, along with the world in general, and how it doesn't follow a specific game or series of games. It has its own independent story while taking elements of other games to make it feel like if they were adapted, they could work within that world. So that's the last thing on the list besides miscellaneous. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about it. I feel like it's a very, very good movie. I feel like they completed the movie very cleanly. I feel like they might have been scared of releasing the movie too, because of Mario's track record with like movies and games, you know? The Mario movie from the 90s wasn't great. People were very mixed on the Wizard, leaning towards the negative side of it being an advertisement. The cartoons were okay. I personally enjoyed them, but I know a lot of people look back at them and cringe, I guess. But you can see them reference the cartoon in the advertisement they make for the plumbing, which I thought was pretty neat, kind of poking fun, saying like, oh, they're putting on an act of the stereotypical Italian, which was another good way of using Chris Pratt's voice, showing that, I guess in a meta way, that Mario doing the Italian voice was an act, but still contained within the movie, saying whenever he presents himself on TV, he was using an Italian voice as a act to like play a character. I thought the fact that he hated mushrooms though was a little bad at first, until I kinda just realized I needed to get over myself. I don't say it's the best choice to take it, but I just thought it wasn't sentenced to death worthy, I guess you could say. So, Yeah. Any last words? I say it's a good movie. It is one of the better video game movies too, or at least in recent times. Besides like Castlevania, I heard The Last of Us were really good. I watched that show a bit. They were all pretty enjoyable. I feel like they are definitely increasing in quality, along with the video game. I guess video game medium as a whole becoming more budget consuming and like stuff like that. I say it was a good movie though, and I hope to see Nintendo expand upon their movie endeavors in the future. So yeah. Anyways, I feel like that's all I have to say. To finish this video off, I'm gonna go grab my Goomba plushie and show you guys him. I'll be right back. Anyways, you all have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.